I've been told you loved the last video because I shared a secret with you. Here's another one. So with this in mind, the video is over. I'm joking. This one can also be part of my productivity series. This is not a meme review. So in case you might be lost, let me backtrack a bit. So there are some YouTubers who are talking about seasons instead of years. So you should plan your life in seasons. You should plan your life in these compartments of 3 months, because you cannot achieve that much in one day or 1 week or a couple of weeks. But in 3 months, you can achieve many things. Like you can learn a programming language in 3 months. Obviously, you're not entirely proficient in it, but it's a start. You kind of know where to get it from. And if you get another 3 months, maybe you can even start creating tiny programs or creating websites in case of other programming languages. So, and the same goes with the natural languages as well. You've all seen Nathaniel Drew and his insane method of learning a language in what, 2 weeks or something like that. And obviously he didn't get any sort of the subtleties of the language, but he got 80% of it right, and that's what we need in any sort of interaction, to at least become slightly proficient in that field. And then we can see if we want and we desire to move on and study further that field. This is a great method if you're feeling like you don't know exactly where your life is heading. Basically what they were saying, hey, 1 week or 1 day is not enough for something meaningful to be achieved. But 1 year is such a long span of time. And it's quite tough to remember even your goals. Or okay, maybe you are trying to have a daily practice in which you state your goals daily, or in which you try to remember your goals daily, and that takes time. So because I'm lazy, I want to take the most time out of it. And I came across this method of the best way to put it is putting yourself under pressure and putting yourself under fake deadlines, which is, I have a 30-day deadline for some activities that I want to plan. On the notebook that I initially opened, there are actually 12 lines, one for each month. And each of those lines come with a certain challenge. And the reason why I did it this way, well, 3 months seems like an awful lot of time for me. And maybe there are many things that I want to try. There are many things that I want to address. And that's all good, that's all great. But imagine if you are doing a challenge that you're not necessarily interested in. This is why this video is addressed to the people who might not necessarily know what they want to pursue. And it's been incredibly helpful for myself. Instead of splitting things in 4 seasons of 3 months, I'm choosing to spend it in, a 30-day period. And I'm calling them 30-day challenges. So in 1 year, I've got 12 of them, obviously, but those kind of allow me to explore multiple things, because I started with the seasons and I understood that, hey, now it was my season of videography, right? And I didn't have any sort of interest in trying to film videos, trying to go out in the field. So I was not doing anything, and I wasn't even crossing things off my list, but I was just wasting time. And I wanted to avoid this as much as possible. If I'm wasting 1 month on a project that is not necessarily helpful for my own life, it's fine, it's 1 month. I've wasted more than that just by playing some video game or anything of that sort, or by pursuing an exam that I've never used, right? But you understand the idea why it's useful to use this method first. The method with the seasons, it's amazing, it's great, and please try and use it, but after you decide what your interests are. This is more a method of finding your interests. So let's backtrack a bit. For the second time I got, but I promise you it's the last time. This is also on the idea of purpose. A very valuable resource that I don't want to exploit, I just want to point to, is an article by Tim Urban. That's great, it has some methods like the interrogation chamber, or the octopus of needs, octopi of needs, I don't know. But in that article, if you go through it and do the exercises, you come to a tiny realization of what you might want to achieve. There is another great exercise in terms of your career. It's called the 25-5 rule, and you literally list the most interesting 25 things that you want to achieve during your career. You rank those in order, and out of those you only circle the top 5 ones. And you know what you do with those 5? Well, you make a plan and you try to pursue them. And first of all, obviously you need some actionable items, but with the number 6 to number 25, that's where the important stuff kicks in. You never pursue them. You are never trying to go after them, especially in the beginning of your life. So enough with the purpose. How does this method work? You come at some realization during some reflection that you want to achieve, let's say 20 or 30 items in your life. I don't know what they are. You achieve those by pursuing some goal-setting seminar. You can find so many of them online, or maybe you kind of inherently know. And I've got, again, the same agenda with me, and I can read you some of my challenges. And I actually dubbed this year as the year of challenges for myself. So in January, I wanted to write daily at least 1 hour for my book. And that's turned out incredibly well. I loved it. It turns out I don't want to publish anything, or I don't want to do anything else, but I gained so much insight into how I'm perceiving life right now, and yeah, it just made me happy, right? So the second thing was I wanted a change of career. So I applied to a meaningful job in February, at least one meaningful job each day. And a meaningful job means I have a list of roles which I want, which is, I can share it with you, there's no harm in that. So I want either a CSM or a TAM role or an account manager role, and those roles are meaningful to me. I love building relationships, and I just want to be in that customer facing environment, right? So I decided to do that for 1 month. I did it. Turned out, well, pandemic hit and things kind of stalled, but it was still a great experience, and I still know that that's what I want to achieve. So then in March, it was an hour of learning daily. So for 1 hour, I would watch something on LinkedIn Learning. Yeah, I know I was paying for LinkedIn back then, so it made sense that I should watch a course. I ended up watching courses on JavaScript, on HTML, CSS, and what else? Obviously some business skills, but I ended up doing that month as well. And this is just an example. It can be anything. It can be like jogging for 1 hour. It can be not eating fast food for 1 month. I actually had this. It can be learning a language to a certain level. So from A1 to A2 in Spanish for 1 month. I've got all those here. And honestly, it's been incredibly interesting to see myself. Sometimes I'm incredibly focused. Sometimes I hit things, you know, I nail them. But most of times, when there's something that doesn't pique my interest, I'm not doing it. So that's also incredibly helpful in sort of telling you what you should further pursue. So in terms of that, I was telling you how I tried to learn something that I wasn't particularly interested in, and I did it for 1 month, and I started slacking at the end of it. So how I do it, I've got all the days numbered from 1 to 30 on my board, and I just cross them, right? So if I'm, or on a piece of paper, you can get any sort of piece of paper. I'm trying to give you an example, like this kind of piece of paper, and just write them from 1 to 30. It's fine if you do so. And then just put a tick next to it. It doesn't have to be anything fancier than that. You can put a title here, like you can have here, let's say, the month of trying to get from A2 to B1 or A1 to B2 or whatever in Spanish. So if you're interested in that, you will find that, hey, you tick things and maybe you don't reach your goal. Maybe you don't get to A2 from A1 or whatever. Maybe you don't get to the next level, but you put hours in, which means that, hey, your interest is indeed there. For example, photography. I had a challenge of photography to take a picture daily for 30 days. I didn't do it. That month was a red cross for me, and that's because I have no interest in that, and it's totally fine. This is not a method of, you know, you judging yourself. Why don't you do this? You're so silly. You should pursue this option of your career. You know, computer science pays so well or being a surgeon pays so well, why don't you study? Why don't you, learn biology? If you're not interested in that, it's fine to move on from things. I'm advocating a method of focusing on strengths. There is this book, Strengths Finder, and I believe there is so much focusing on weaknesses in our environment. And everybody thinks that you are this blob of knowledge or of ethics or of actions, and this blob should be universally rounded like a ball. And it's stupid, it's incredibly silly. We're born to have edges because we're better at some things and we're worse at some others. And if you don't trust me on that, let's say you are a terrible singer. Try and go and take an audition to Britain's Got Talent or Romania's Got Talent or whatever. Try and do that and see, you will get X's all over or whatever the thing is. And the same is with cooking shows. If you're a terrible cook, you will still get rejected. It's not like somebody wants to harm you, it's nothing like that. But inherently you have things that you are better at and you have things that you are terrible at. And you have to understand that. And for some people, empathy is really easy. For others, empathy is, so elusive. Like, look at Zach, right? He will never be the most empathic person on this planet, no matter how hard he tries. So he's focusing on tech, he's focusing on actually data. Facebook is just a huge data center, if you ask me. That's what Facebook is used for. But see, he's focusing on his strengths, and that's why he became so rich. I'm not sure what's his position, but I can guarantee he's in top 10 richest people on planet Earth. But again, it's focusing on strengths, not on weaknesses, and I think this is a huge mistake. The educational system does this mistake. The private tutors do this mistake, and everybody else believes that, hey, you should be a well-rounded individual in all facets of the life. And that's stupid, that's silly, that's wasting so much time on things that you don't need. You should be allowed to drop things like, painting, or things like music, or things like mathematics, or even, spelling, language, any sort of subject. Once you've got at least, the basic level of proficiency. So yeah, you need to learn how to write and how to read. But you don't have to write poems, or you don't have to write analysis on texts, right? If you don't want to pursue a career in that field. 1 year of doing that should be enough. But in our schooling system, you get 8 years. 8 years of just writing essays, right? And it's silly, it's stupid. Maybe I don't want to do that ever again in my life. And I honestly don't. So why should I pursue that if it's not something that will benefit me in any way? And why shouldn't I spend my time more wisely in, just trying to improve my resources? So this is what this challenge is about. It's mostly finding things that are interesting to you, but also that you want to follow on. So it's those two things put together. And at the end of it, you gain massive knowledge about yourself, and maybe you get some skills during the way. Maybe you make some friends along the way, because I know that I did, and it's incredible. I made some friends speaking other languages. I met some friends trying to speak with a person online for one day for 30 days. I did that challenge back in 2018, I think, and it was really cool. So yeah, I'm advocating you to go and explore things, to go and try new things. This is not a mastery thing, a mastery game. It's not about how to make yourself be incredibly productive. It's just how you can find your interests and the things that you might decide to pursue at a later stage. And once you do that, once you have this year of challenges, then you can think of it like a leap year, right, at university. So many people that I know wanted so bad to take a leap year. I'm hoping you will find this useful and maybe make 2021 this year of challenges for yourself. I know it's been incredibly fun for me to have 2020 the year of my challenges. Some of them, yeah, I had to retool a bit because of the situation, but it's been fun overall. And while you cannot travel and you cannot do crazy things as before, you still got so many other options. So I really encourage you to try and find your interests as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. There are videos here, everywhere on the screen, and I really appreciate you sticking with this video so far. Thank you so much, and we'll hear each other again soon.